there. It's been a while since I've posted on YouTube, and I'm really excited to be sharing this information with you today. Um, I do want you sticking around till the end. I've got a few updates that I want to share. I'm sorry if you hear Miss Rachel in the background. That's what's keeping my son busy so I can get this video out to you. So, on my Instagram, I posted a reel. And the topic of that reel is this teacher statement that I've heard over and over. And I've even said it. So this is not a judgment statement. This is me admitting, like, I've absolutely said this before. I'm a teacher. I'm not a behavior specialist. All right. Have you said this before? Have you heard this before? Because I guarantee we've all heard this. It's all over teacher Facebook pages or group pages. And I hear it all the time. And when I put this post out there, I wanted to share some things. So, one, you're not a behavior specialist, and you shouldn't be doing anything that a behavior specialist should do because you don't have that training. You don't have that knowledge, and that's just something you're not capable of as a teacher. Your training is in education. So, you might have specific instruction and knowledge on ELA, math, data collection, content areas like health, science, social studies. That's what you've been trained in. The problem is you have not been properly trained on behavior and classroom management. That's a problem, and that's not on you as the teacher. I want that to be very clear. I'm not here to come out after teachers. I'm not coming after you. I'm letting you know that the system has let you down in this area. In your teacher preparation programs and in the schools and districts that hire you, they're not giving this training out. And yet they expect you to have the knowledge and skill to execute successful classroom and behavior management. This is a problem, right? This is a big problem. So I'm a teacher. I'm not a behavior specialist. That's very true. But there are things you can do for your behavior management that a behavior specialist doesn't need. You don't need that qualification for. And that's what I want to talk about today, right? You deserve to have successful classroom management, and you deserve to know what is successful for your behavior management. There is a lot that you can do, and that's my wheelhouse. That's what I'm focusing on. My digital course, Calming the Classroom Chaos, helps you in that area from the start of the year. There are things that you can do. A lot of it, honestly, is connection. Build that connection. Build relationships, make sure your environment is welcoming and warm. And this is repetitive, right? You've heard this before, but I'm letting you know that's our foundation for positive classroom management, for successful classroom management. I'm kind of getting off track here. I can talk about this all day. So you're not a behavior specialist. I hear it. I support that statement 100%. However, you do need to know enough about behavior management to address most of the concerns in your classroom, because most of them can be handled in the classroom. Here's where, and I'm going to grab my phone because I had a comment in response to this reel that I had posted, and I want to share it with you. All right. Try having a 6'4" 8th grader with an ankle monitor on cussing out other students, as well as you, the teacher, and threatening to destroy your classroom because you told them to put their phone away. To the point the SRO officer had to come while you cleared the room. And this was after rapport had been established. No, some kids need not be in a gen ed class or in public school, or I have 39 other students to attend to. This statement from this teacher, this is not a judgment on this teacher because this teacher is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. What that specific situation entails is not in your wheelhouse to handle. And that's not what I'm addressing when I say behavior management. I am not telling you to take that extreme of a behavior. Here's what I want to say. Sorry, I just accidentally stepped on my dog. He's fine. uh, the minute students or you, the teacher, feel unsafe in the environment, you need to call for help. The minute that a student becomes violent against another student or yourself or themselves, right? If the student starts becoming violent and hurtful toward themselves, you also need to call for support. The minute a student becomes destructive, that is no longer a safe environment and you need to call for help, call for support. That is the behavior that needs a behavior specialist. That is not general education teacher behavior. That is not behavior management behavior. That is not classroom management behavior. This child is dysregulated. And none of your training, even in what I say is behavior and classroom management training, is not, that's not in your wheelhouse. I want you to know that is a boundary. You call for support every time. When it hits that level, like what this teacher is dealing with, you call for support. And it sounds like this teacher did exactly that. You can have strong rapport and a strong relationship with a student and still need to call for help. That's okay, because you are not trained. And the best thing for that student, for the rest of the class, and for yourself is to get that help. Now, I have a couple of things to share because I'm going to make a statement that might come off real harsh. I also agree with this teacher. Not every student should be in a gen ed classroom. I agree. And I'd like to share a bit more on that. Let's focus on the academic side. I was teaching fourth grade, and I had a student who was pre-K in every aspect, mental, academic, emotional, pre-K. That was just the cognitive capabilities of the student. Every bit of differentiation, one-on-one support, special education support that I had, everything that I did for this student was not enough. And admitting that is very difficult because we are supposed to be problem solvers, right? We're teachers. We're supposed to help fix. Nothing I did could help that student. That student needed a specialized program. That student was not in a least restrictive environment, despite this push to put students in their least restrictive environment. That's not always the gen ed classroom. That's a fact, right? I could not help the student the way the student needed to be helped. So academically, in a fourth grade classroom, that's setting that child up not for success. That is just making every day repetitively difficult. And I get it, there aren't specialized programs everywhere, and they're probably full already. So I know that there's a lot of issues going into that, but I agree with this teacher saying that not every student should be in a gen ed classroom. Not saying that they should be taken out 100%. Not saying that we should go dramatically the other way. I'm just saying for this child to learn and grow, what was happening full-time in a gen ed classroom was not successful for the student. And there are a lot of students, because of academics, that this is the case for. Another example. This kind of blends the academic side with behavior. I was teaching a second grader, and this student, like if you made eye contact as the student was walking into the room, the student would run and elope. Okay. right? And the student was spending less and less time in the classroom. And while that student was in the classroom, learning wasn't happening, not just for the student, but for all of the students. I would get destruction. I would get constant disruption. I would constantly have to call for help. And um, this student wasn't learning. The rest of my class wasn't learning. And the behaviors were getting so extreme that it was going to hurt somebody. Not only that, but there were a lot of cognitive challenges that the student faced. Was this child learning in my classroom? No. The appropriate choice was because of the overstimulation that this child faced when coming into a classroom of 25 other second graders. No matter the fact that I had the lights off so it was calm, I had calming music on, no matter what I did to the environment to make it more inviting to the student, it did not change the behavior. What I had going on in this general ed classroom was not the least restrictive environment for this student to be successful. And the student did end up going to a specialized classroom that was more suited to their needs. And that's great. I want that student to be successful. And if it's not with me, I want to make sure that that student is in the place to have success. And that was not just an academic issue, that was a struggle with behavior because it was extreme on both sides. So yeah, that's something that has to be considered. The least restrictive environment has to look different for some students in order to ensure their success. When I've called for help, so now we have a student who's violent or destructive and you need to call for help. You only have control over yourself. That's an unfortunate reality that I wish were different in some cases. I have called for help and not gotten anybody to help me. And so I'm dealing with an entire class, myself, and a very dysregulated student alone for an extended period of time. That's not okay. I'm going to tell you now that's not okay. I have, absolutely true story. I have had the dysregulated student locked in my classroom with an administrator holding the door shut, thinking that that's the solution. I can't control that. I, as the teacher, can't control that. But I can keep calling for help. And I will keep calling for help because the safety of my students and myself, and even that dysregulated student, matter. So I understand that when you call for help, you might not get anybody. And you might get something that is a horrible response. But again, we have to roll with the punches in some ways and just keep calling. If this person is not responding appropriately, call for somebody else. It's going to be hard, but that's a boundary. You are not a behavior specialist, so when a behavior becomes violent and destructive, you need to get that help because it's not on you. I don't ever want you to feel like it's on you to handle this by yourself. I have had an elementary student, and I don't talk about this much because I do feel a lot of guilt and a lot of shame still. Even when part of me really does know that it was out of my control. I had a student who had spent a lot of third grade suspended due to behaviors. And so when the student came to me in fourth grade, that first Friday of the school year, and it was a short week, I was calling for help because this student had made a ramp out of my furniture and was scaling the wall. That was the first Friday of the school year. And so an admin came and stood between that student and the rest of the class and was like, keep teaching. Like, get that when you call for help, it might not be an appropriate response. I get it because I've done it. Um, I think it was October. The behavior got progressively worse quickly. And I was calling for help every single day. We got a counselor who was in the room next to me. Well, it was a spare room, but also because I had such an extreme behavior student that I needed somebody on hand. It was that extreme. Now, this student, we had all these things in place, everything that we could to support the student. And not a shocker, this child has dealt with trauma. This child has dealt with extreme situations. And the response was for protection, for self-safety. Maladaptive, completely inappropriate, but this child did not know any different, did not know any better. So the day this child, the event that happened where this child was expelled shortly after, happened in maybe October. I had been working on building a relationship with this child. I felt like we were getting somewhere. And finally, one day, for the first time in months at this point, 2 months at this point, this child sat down and read to me and was good, despite all of the trauma happening at home, despite all of the challenges and the fact that this child was basically out of school, suspended for most of the year before. This child could read. Was it fourth grade level? No, it wasn't. But this child could read. And I was so excited for this child. I said, hey, go show our counselor. Go tell her, like, I'm going to give you an extra break because I am so impressed with how smart and clever and skilled you are. And so I sent this child on a break because I was just so excited. I thought this is a connection. I thought we're getting somewhere. When this child came back from the break, something was wrong. I don't think anything negative happened in that break or anything, but I think my response triggered something in that child because that compassion, that excitement for the student, that support was not common for this child. And everything that was said was, hey, if I fight someone, will I get expelled? If I do this, can I get expelled? And everything was just this repetitive blurting. It felt, and I know I have no evidence of this, but it felt as if this student was trying to prove all of my praise wrong. And that breaks my heart because it was compliments. Compliments set him off. And shortly after, recess happened, and something inside, I was like, I should not send this child to recess. I should hold on and maybe do an inside recess. But that also, I didn't want to isolate. So there was no, I didn't really know what to do. So I sent them off to recess. And what happened at recess is what got this child expelled. This child needed intensive trauma therapy. This child honestly needed time away from their home life. None of this is something I had control over. None of this I could have changed in that time. In my time with him, even if this child was in my class the entire year, it wouldn't have changed too much. This child needed so much more than what I could give because I'm not a behavior specialist. And it's really important that you know that you're not a behavior specialist, and you can, should, and need to call for help when it's important. Um, I also want you to know that, sorry, my son is like inching his way here. Hold on. Okay, there's a duck on Miss Rachel, and I think it bought me a few minutes. Oh, lost my train of thought, but that's really what I want to say. You're not a behavior specialist. You're a teacher. You should have training in behavior and classroom management. That should be happening. However, there is a boundary, there is a line that is crossed when violence, destruction, an unsafe environment is created. That's where you need to call for help. And you keep calling until you get what is needed to return that environment into a safe one. Shameless course plug here. What I'm bringing to you through my digital course, Calming the Classroom Chaos, which I will link information to that course down below. This will help you. The thing with behaviors and students who struggle with their emotions and knowing is that they don't know how to behave. We have to show them and guide them explicitly, like when we teach addition. When we help them decode words, we have to also guide them to the behavior we're expecting. Some students will get it. A lot of students will get it, but not all of them. And some need more support than you. So this course, that my Calming the Classroom Chaos, is all about helping develop self-awareness in students. So if you want students who can self-regulate and self-manage, you have to start with self-awareness. You can teach both skills and both sets of skills at the same time, but you have to have that foundation in self-awareness. Because if they can't identify emotions, if they can't name their emotions, how are they going to practice stress management without knowing what emotion is driving that struggle, that challenge for them? So again, I'll link that down below. Definitely something to check out. Feel free to email me anytime if you have questions about the course specifically or a behavior and wondering, hey, did this behavior cross the line? Should I call? Please reach out to me. I'll also have my email down below. I want to help you with that support. Finally, today is July 9th, 2024, and I know this video is going to be on for a really long time, but I am a speaker in a conference called Educate and Rejuvenate. It's a virtual conference, and there's over 60 pre-recorded sessions, ELA, STEM, math, teacher burnout. And mine is called Celebrating Classroom Management. Celebrating is spelled S-E-L, which I thought was pretty clever. And my session is all on classroom management and social emotional learning. But there's so much. So not only do you get these pre-recorded sessions, there's a whole itinerary for those 2 days with live coaching, and it's like live life coaching. There are 2 keynote speakers. One is a teacher and comedian, and the other, I'll have to link their names below. The other is a life coach. So definitely check these out. Kelly Sorensen, who is the creator of Educate and Rejuvenate, she'll also be speaking and supporting teachers on, prioritizing themselves, which I think is huge. So if you're interested in participating in this, please make sure you check the link below. I'll have it separated from the few links that I'll be putting out there. I think it's going to be amazing. I also have a ticket so I can participate in the other events. But yeah, that's it. And I'm really happy to be checking in with all of you. Please make sure you are liking, subscribing. Go ahead and comment. I know I have a bunch on some of my other videos that I have to respond to. So that is a goal. I'll probably set that for tomorrow since today's goals are already set. Um, but I hope you're enjoying your summer. If you are a teacher who likes to get ahead of work and that fulfills you, I hope you are finding that fulfillment and joy there. If you are a teacher who likes to take a break and step back and do nothing teaching related, I hope that fulfills you too and brings you a lot of joy. And if you're somewhere in the middle, I hope you're having a joyful summer. All right. Bye, everyone.